Okay, I'm in. But we have to make it quick. I've got plans later tonight.
Hi everyone, it's 2FAST2MOVIE. I'm your host Alexandra, and with me is my co-host Abraham, and we're here to talk about episode 5 of Amazon's original series, Invincible. This episode is titled, That Actually Hurt, which it definitely did. If you like this and you want to see more, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. We upload new videos every week here on the channel, and massive spoilers ahead, so you've been warned.
Oh. Every episode, it just raises the bar. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I don't know what I was expecting for this episode, but it wasn't this, and this episode, far exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, and they were already up there, so that's saying something. It really is.
Abe and I were discussing, and we think this might be our favorite episode so far. It's definitely in the top 5.
Well, because the other episode, the other episodes, they don't have a concise story, I guess. They jump in between little story plots that kind of connect and will eventually build to something greater. But every scene in this felt relevant to the main plot.
It felt like we're starting to get the payoff of little things from previous episodes starting to connect and form a bigger picture. Yeah. Like things that you thought were maybe a one-off actually aren't.
I also really like the title card in this episode.
Yes, I kept waiting for it. I thought he was going to tell Amber who he was because I was like, we haven't gotten a title card yet. And he's saying I am. And then he says something else. I was like, they faked us out.
And then it was Titan who said it, which... my new favorite side character?
Yeah, for sure.
He's definitely up there now. I just can't wait to talk about this because, oh boy, there's a lot to unpack.
All right, we're going to jump in. We're going to start outlining the episode and kind of break it down a little bit. But as Mark starts to come into his powers, he must decide what being a superhero really means. And then Titan, previously seen robbing a bank, is given a much more detailed background. He reaches out to Invincible to help him bring down the city's largest kingpin, Machine Head, much to Omni-Man's chagrin.
Chagrin, nice. I love Titan's little line where he's like, "You got a long ass name and paint costs money," when he's on the roof.
Yeah, just Invincible.
Invincible. They set up the episode really well in the beginning, showing the dichotomy between Titan and Invincible. Because, Invincible is coming into his own. He's he's really using his powers to stop world-ending threats. He's interrogating someone, punching robot bad guys, stopping bombs in the city. And then Titan is doing his thing, which, It's very nice. Yeah. It's interesting to see.
It's cool that they give him this, they really humanize him in this episode. They make it very clear that he's not totally on board with all of the stuff that he's doing. Even in the very first scene, how it ends, he kills the head guy in that drug packing area. Obviously one of Machine Head's rival gangs. But he seems to have a real soft spot for kids, and he leaves the youngest one alive. He tells him that the message was really for him to go tell their boss, and then he says, don't shoot that gun. And then the kid does, and he still tells him to get out of there. So it sets it from the beginning that he's not really a bad guy, and there's a lot more to him.
And it also, thinking back, that moment in episode 1 it was, when him and, where Titan and Invincible were having this fight, and Titan realized that the person who he was fighting was a kid and almost had a sit down conversation with him for a minute. Yeah. I thinking back on that, I'm like, oh, that's why that happened, because he's like, you're a child. You're clearly a high schooler. what are you what are you doing?
Yeah, he's like, come on, man. He's just like such an interesting character. Like, I mean, he gives these people who he burns their building down for insurance money for his boss, and then he gives them money to stay somewhere, and then he goes back to his house and they're living in like not a great apartment, clearly struggling with money. So it says a lot about him, and we're going to see so much more.
The way he ends with being on top, his family moving into that tower, I am like, if you become a villain, you're going to be like a more nuanced Kingpin from Spider-Man, and I love that.
Yeah, just like this real like anti-hero where he's maybe doing illegal stuff but with more humanity and thought behind it, which, you know, his boss was part robot, so that would make more sense.
Yeah. Well, also we were talking about the crimes that what's his name, Machine Head is doing, and kind of how Invincible sort of like ends up joining this fight with Titan. And we were also talking about Omni-Man and the conversation that's had between him and Mark when he's deciding what he should do and if he should help him. And, you know, like every Omni-Man scene, we learn more and more about who Omni-Man really is.
Yeah.
Because he says some pretty heinous stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he really comes off like a huge dick.
Yeah, it's putting it lightly.
Yeah.
You don't need to help them. They're beneath you. What? What?
Yeah, there's a lot of really weird implications, and we're kind of discussing this as like it's almost like he feels the need to keep like humans and the world like at arm's length, and you're not supposed to be getting attached to humans individually. So you should only be working on like world-ending things like a giant asteroid or an alien invasion, but things that would actually change the lives of people in the city are like, that's like petty human stuff, and you don't need to worry about that.
Right.
It's not worth your time.
But we were also talking because thinking back to, you know, he obviously killed the Guardians of the Globe, and his dialogue seems to imply that he is planning something or is fulfilling some sort of responsibility. And it seems like potentially training Mark is part of that. And it seems like he's using Mark as like a means to an end. We don't know what that end is. And this idea of getting attached to Earthling, you know, because his whole home life, we even theorized, wasn't supposed to happen. So maybe this is his way of like dissuading Mark from like, you know,
following in his footsteps.
Right. Don't get attached because you're going to have to do some pretty awful stuff and it's going to break your heart. So just don't get attached.
He tells Debbie, he's like, I didn't think this was going to be so hard. And he talks about it being so hard to like train Mark. And then later in the episode, we see him watching Mark get in a fight with people that he is clearly unbalanced by, and he doesn't intervene, but he does, I would say, probably is the one to make the anonymous calls to the Guardians. But
still, the fact that he pushed Mark away from doing it and then is watching his son fail at doing the thing that a hero would be trying to do says to me that what he's doing and what he's allowing to happen is like a punishment or like a kind of like, let this be a lesson for you. Which
it really does feel like that. And so it's kind of like the ending. I feel like the end has two parts. So one, either he knew that Titan is not a very good guy and has ulterior motives and was like, well, this is what you get because you shouldn't be trusting people like this. And then also the fact that the post-credit scene talks about Viltrumite blood or cells not being able to be destroyed. He, I guess, obviously believes that Mark can't die or it would be near impossible to kill him. So that's part of the reason he won't intervene. Like, you're going to get hurt, and you've brought that upon yourself.
Yeah. I mean, it's still pretty messed up.
I mean, but are you willing to risk that? Mark's still part human. So what if what if he's not as strong as he thinks and he actually did die?
Well, is there even a precedent for half Viltrumite? Like,
yeah.
Do other Viltrumites like go out to other worlds and have relationships with the people from those planets? I'm wondering now.
Yeah, because Mark could be the only being like this that's half Viltrumite, half something else.
I don't know. I feel like we're gonna have to wait and see on that, because there's a lot brewing with Omni-Man, and I feel like it's gonna all be revealed in the last episode, because we're showing a lot. And
obviously we had a really cool villain this episode, Machine Head.
Oh my god. What? These villains are great.
I know, the like Lil Wayne like filter. I felt like it was like when iPhones first came out, that was like a really popular app, was to like filter your voice through and make it sound like that. It's
like interesting because it only does that like every few seconds, or like when he like does a new syllable, and it holds like the first note for a little bit. So it's like it's like that uncanny valley, which very uncanny valley. Like, it's almost funny, but then it just starts to be like kind of creepy. Especially when like they bust into his office and he's like, Mark is like, "You're done, it's over," and then he's like, "Yeah, hang on a minute," and he's still he feels so in control, and that was pretty terrifying. I mean, he kind of was, because not only is he there, but he calls in the Goon Squad, which is just like rogues gallery of amazingly designed villains who seem to have pretty like lives, and I hope we see more of them. Yeah, and they also again, every episode opens up this universe so much. Like, where are all of these people from? We've never seen them, so perhaps they're not even from Earth. I mean, the one guy, his name is Battle Beast, right? Yeah, Battle Beast. The one guy is like so unimpressed with Earth, is like, I thought I was gonna have fun today killing people, or like at least have a battle, but this is like squashing bugs. I love his costume and his design. I think I said it's like He-Man and She-Ra and Thundercats, kind of like, it's a strong like 80s vibe. Yeah, I loved it. And his hammer when he was wailing on oh my god, I gasped. I was like, what's happening? Yeah. That was shocking. I was shocked. We're going to talk more about the Guardians who may be dead later. Yeah, it's a little unclear. But then I also wanted to talk a little bit just about Adam Eve and Amber. So this was a smaller part of the episode, but kind of build a lot for their characters. Mm-hmm. Adam Eve, turns out, has a really fucked up, weird home life. Yeah, that was her dad's basically saying, like, I don't care that this guy cheated on you. You should get back together with him. But that's out of this fear that he has for his daughter. So it's like, this is really heavy and like uncomfortable. And she points out, she's like, I can manipulate like atoms on a molecular level, and she like rearranges the whole house, creates a door, warps everything. Yeah, I love that he yells as she leaves, like, "Don't leave that door there!" And then she just leaves it. That's amazing. But I mean, I get his fear, because we've seen her almost die, so she's not, invincible. Like but she can die. So it's not an unfounded fear, and I think that's really interesting. Like, just they show really very lightly touches on stuff that I would have never thought of in superhero kind of universes, like, just like the real humanity and actual reality and consequences of what these superheroes do. And I think they do a really good job at just kind of like, we're not going to dive deep into these, because at the end of the day, it's a comedy, but they're going to touch on them. Yeah. I also want to make one more prediction because I felt it in my bones in this episode.
His
I have a
bones.
feeling that
Mhm.
Adam, Eve, and Amber could end up together.
Mm.
Very
Mhm.
likely, because there's already tension between her and Mark is not seasoned. Adam Eve is like, on the fence about being a hero as is, and already seemed to have like a pretty good work-life balance. So
There's nothing a gal likes more than someone who will make some time for her.
yeah. So
And maybe Adam Eve is going to be that person.
I just want to put that prediction out there. And if I'm right,
Ooh.
that'll be let me say I called it.
We'll put a scorecard up
Yep.
for you.
I love that.
Yeah, I think one thing too, like I feel like it's gonna come into play later on, is that Amber says that that community center was like her second home, and Titan says the same thing about his family. So I feel like there's definitely a connection there, and I feel like that also had something to do with why Mark ended up helping Titan.
I didn't catch that.
Mm-hmm.
She
says
okay.
It was like my second home. It saved me. And then Titan later on mentioned Mark asks him about his family, and
that's
says,
why he helps.
That place is like her second home. Yeah,
Dang.
I feel like that's a huge part of the reason, but it's also going to come into play later on.
Totally missed that. Thank you for bringing that up. I did not catch that at all.
All right, so let's move on to the Guardians, because this episode was nuts for them too. So the Guardians return to the headquarters after what some of the members think was just another successful day saving the world. But Black, Samson, and Robot remind them that any human injury and any death is a loss. And later, when Invincible and Titan face off against Machine Head's new gang, an anonymous call brings them into the fight, leading to very grave consequences.
Yeah. I feel like I want to address the elephant in the room, Robot.
Yeah, what's happening?
Because I don't know what he wants to clone, like why he wants to clone Rex. I mean, maybe it's because he thinks that they're not like living up to their standards,
their potential.
Yeah, and like maybe like cloning them and turning them into like perfect, mindful beings is going to be better for human, but like potentially erasing them of their individuality, which we've seen the Mahler brothers, like when they're doing that mind wipe kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or they're doing that conscious transfer. So I don't know, maybe that could be part of it.
I don't know. I love that immediately the clone is like, aha, it worked.
Yeah.
I thought that's so funny. Yeah, I feel like it just brought us more questions than answers, because it's still not clear what he wants. And then also he had he was on Monster Girl. Like he tells who's the girl that can multiply?
Duplicate.
He tells Duplicate Monster Girl is in trouble. He like rages when she gets really hurt. And then he's very involved with saving her kind of once the like medics get in there. So somebody in one of our previous episodes left a comment that they thought Robot was like into Monster Girl. So is it that, or does he just have plans for her?
Oh.
But he was very attached in this episode.
Yeah, because Monster Girl does the whole like revive, like she, every time she uses power, she reverses an age. Yeah. So, but does that affect her lifespan or just her physical age? I don't, like, do her cells like revert to a younger version of themselves and thereby allowing her to live forever?
Yeah, I mean, we discussed this in the last episode, but what eventually happens? And what happens when she becomes too young to be very in control? I mean, her mind is always there, but when she starts to become a toddler, like your brain is physically different. So is she going to reach an age where she can't control turning into a monster, which is a danger? But then if she does it too much, does she just cease to exist? does she become like an infant and then a fetus and then just doesn't exist anymore? So
yeah.
it feels like he might be trying to do something to reverse that.
Or maybe he's trying to harness it. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Like, because his weird test tube body master himself, whatever that thing was, maybe it needs something, and maybe that's the reason why he's gathering all this blood. We don't even know what the blood is really for. Like, the cloning the Guardians is just a theory, but...
We don't even know that the blood that he gave the Mauler brothers is for sure Rex's. Maybe it's a combination of different blood, like...
Yeah, maybe he's been planning this for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then, obviously we have, like, Black Samson, who is the oldest member, who's kind of pointing out how immature the other members of the Guardians are. And, like, this wasn't successful. People are in the hospital. Like, we should always be constantly looking at how to do better. And they're saying he doesn't have superpowers, but he obviously has a lot of wisdom and knows a lot about strategy, and kind of proves that in the end when he sacrifices himself. And I feel like it's a little unclear if he's totally dead, but at the very least, he is really messed up.
Well, he's just a guy. Monster Girl lived because, she was in monster form, and, that's probably the reason why. He is just a dude. I think...
He has the heart of a hero.
Yeah, I think his death might be permanent. I wouldn't be surprised if it was. And
they took him out on a gurney and they didn't have a sheet over him, so I'm like, maybe he's still alive.
But they didn't clarify. I don't know.
They didn't clarify. It seems that the kind of government agency may also be doing some sort of cloning thing, because they take a sample of Mark's blood and they're like, just in case he dies, maybe we can do something with this. But then they're also experimenting on it. So
another Invincible,
didn't
maybe?
In a previous episode don't they have one of the Guardians' heads like on ice or something?
Yeah,
like a Futurama style.
They have it like preserved, like they clamped the two stubs on his head and his neck.
Yeah.
And I think the implication was he could be revived and brought back another day.
Yeah, it seems like they're working on that technology behind the scenes of like saving superheroes or bringing them back or cloning them in some way. Because obviously the technology exists, so they're working on that.
They hung on the syringe of the blood, so that's gotta be something bigger. I wonder what it leads to. Who knows where this crazy train ends? Because
I mean, it seems like there's still potential too for Monster Girl to die, because she seems really messed up. Like, they're defibrillating her at one point, so maybe she's like permanently injured. But it also seems, it's like, why does she still do this if being a superhero seems like it ultimately will lead to her death? Like, if she continues to do this, it's going to end poorly for her.
That's why I don't think that she's going to be out of the fight yet. I think she will make a recovery, because we haven't really answered that question, why she... there's a lot of characters that we don't know expressly why they want to be a hero. Rex doesn't really matter, of course, because he's just kind of a jerk who likes to party and make stuff blow up. But
yeah, it's interesting too, because I'm glad that we saw Adam's Eve's parents, because this answers a question like, neither of her parents are super, so how did she become a superhero? Like, how did she get those powers? It seems like you don't have to have like a parent superhero. People are the result of experiments or kind of this, that, and the other, or maybe just born with them in an accident or a freak accident, whatever.
Yeah. I just can't wait to see what the rest of the Guardians, because there's a lot there. We haven't even really heard from Duplicate or what's her name, the shrinking girl.
Yeah,
like, we don't know much about them yet. Also, Duplicate is such a great pun.
Yeah,
but we need to see more of the Guardians, and I think we will see more of them, except for Black Samson. I think he might be dead, unfortunately.
But you know what? I don't think his death will be in vain, because I think it'll really force the other members to be like, wow, he was right. And he made the ultimate sacrifice, so we need to be doing better.
Yeah, I hope.
And then, obviously, the next biggest character in this episode was Debbie. She's not having a good time.
God, I feel so bad for her.
I know. Okay, so Debbie finds Damien Darkblood's notebook, further implicating Nolan in the murders of the Guardians of the Globe. She sends Nolan on an errand, fresh pasta from Italy, am I right? And searches the house, finding his tattered costume. Later, she challenges him when Nolan tells Mark that petty city crimes are beneath him, reminding Nolan that she's the one who taught him about Earth's society and what mattered to humans.
Yeah, it's all but confirmed at this point. She knows, or at the very least, and I think her going through the house and finding evidence is not to find the truth, but I think to like, she just doesn't want to believe it. I think
she probably thinks like how we think, that there has to be some sort of reason. So what is the reason?
Yeah,
what's the explanation?
She found the costume, so I'm wondering how that's gonna, because you brought up a great point about the costume and how like it might not even be enough to implicate Nolan, or could it even be?
It's kind of confusing because they know the costume exists. He takes it back when he leaves the hospital. And I'm confused as to why he hides it, because I, like, having the other Guardian's DNA on him, I don't feel like is that big of a deal because he was at the fight. So I think it would make sense if he got some of their blood on him. They fucking put blood literally all over that place. So what about the costume implicates him, and what about it, like, that, to the fact that he needed to hide it? He thought people can't see this. So what does that tell about the fight? And you said maybe it's because of the way, like, it's torn, that it could show that he was actually being fought by the Guardians.
I think the fact that they made Red Rush's character the most tied to Debbie, like Debbie's and Red Rush's wife had like this back and forth, I think last episode.
Yeah.
And Red Rush is the one who punched Omni-Man so hard that it ripped open the chest part of his costume.
Yeah.
So, and also we haven't seen that costume guy from before, the guy who makes the suit. So maybe he can like say like, well, this is kind of weird because like the suit is made of X material. The only way that this can be ripped is if this happened.
Yeah.
So like there might be ways that Debbie can, I don't think the blood is the key, because I think you're right. Like Damien Darkblood like already detected all of it. I'm assuming that what's his name, the guy who can teleport everywhere, knows that, like, they probably run DNA samples on this. They know, like, yeah, like I don't think that blood is going to lead anywhere.
I don't know. I love that we got a little bit of Damien in this episode, though. That when she, like, finds the notebook, it's, like, cold inside of her closet. I love that. Maybe she'll do a ritual and bring him back from hell.
I would love that.
That would be fun.
That'd be pretty fun. And also, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, the fact that when she was opening and flipping the thing, we got that callback to the costume. The fact that he called it a costume, and I went back and I looked before we started taping. Omni-Man refers to it as a costume, and every other character refers to it as a suit.
Yeah, because costume really seems like, something like a jaded human would be like, ugh, your costume. So it feels weird for a superhero to refer to what they're wearing as a costume, which kind of seems like he sees it as a costume. Like maybe he feels, I don't know, like he shouldn't have to wear it.
Or like it's a facade, like it's not real.
Yeah.
Like it's a front
not real.
For what who he really is, which I don't know.
It has been unclear from the very beginning, like what his true intentions are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just remains unclear. Like, he talked about before how he never intended to have a family and fall in love with a human from Earth. So then what was his intention? It seems that this has really, we kind of keep coming back to this every episode discussion, but it's like he's clearly been derailed in some way from his original mission on this planet. So what does that mean for what he's teaching Mark?
Well, for Debbie, at least, like we already said, she knows something is not right. And the tension in the air is palpable. Like, even at the dinner conversation, Debbie is like spacing, like she's like a mile away while they're talking about helping people. And she doesn't even, like, there's a point where she was like, where she was talking to Mark about something. And Omni-Man was like, yeah, see, your mother's right. She agrees with what I'm saying. Almost like he is so disconnected from her that they're not even on the same page. Like,
he can't even tell that she's like kind of talking about him.
Yeah, like some people are not what they seem to be. And he's like, yeah, see? That's why you shouldn't trust this guy who is clearly asking for help.
Yeah, and she's like, nah, I'm actually talking about you because you seem to not be who you are. And she reminds him too. She's like, I'm the one who taught you all about humans and our society and what's important to us. So I can do that for Mark too.
And also, and the fact that he's now throwing all of that away, it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Debbie was gonna be more of a rock for everyone, but slowly and steadily, I feel like she is losing her grip. Not like as a person, but like her foothold in the family, trying to keep everyone together. It's not. The foundation's already shaky.
It feels like there are going to be some really hard decisions coming her way. I mean, yeah, it's just crazy. It seems like Earth obviously owes a lot to her because Omni-Man might be less in check if it weren't for her.
Yeah, I hope we get a flashback at some point because I would like to know
what she taught. Yeah, because that's so interesting. And that idea that she had to teach him about kind of like morals as far as humans are correct because or as far as humans are concerned, because on Viltrum it's a different planet with different codes of honor and cultural ideals. And so she's saying, like, I had to recode you and tell you what's important on this planet that he is saying he came to protect.
Yeah.
So what is that planet like? What is their idea of protection?
There is so much mystery. And I wouldn't even say mystery. It's like unanswered questions that just keep piling up as the episodes continue. And I feel like once we know what Omni-Man's true goal is and what Viltrum and Viltrumites really are, I feel like we're going to see everything that Omni-Man has done in a new light. Even the lines and some of his action, I feel like it's all going to click at the last episode. I feel like we have to end the season knowing who Omni-Man is.
A little more.
Yeah, we have to, because I can't just end the season going like, what is Viltrum? I can't have these questions in my head.
I can't believe we only have a couple episodes left. We didn't even touch on the aliens from Mars in this episode. There's so much.
That's going to come back. Like I said, that's going to come back
for sure.
They're already taken over.
Yeah. Oh, well. All right, guys. It's been a wild ride. Can't wait till next week. But with that, we're going to wrap up this episode of 2FAST2MOVIE. So let us know what you thought in the comments. And if you like this, check out our coverage of My Hero Academia and Falcon and the Winter Soldier here on the channel. And also, our narrative series has been recently selected for not one, but 2 film festivals. One of them's in Canada, so we're international now. So check out Interview Philly as well.
Absolutely.
All right. Bye.
Bye.